Hello, everybody. It's a big honor to be here today. And we have such a crucial topic on how far Bitcoin is from the mass adoption. And Bitcoin is pumping right now. It's already broke $58,400. And as well, this year has been quite groundbreaking for Bitcoin and for the crypto industry. It is finally some kind of legitimized with CSC approval of all Bitcoin spot ETF applications. And we see big interest from all these biggest asset managers in the world with $1 trillion under management, such as BlackRock, Fidelity, Franklin Templeton, Bitwise, and many others. Bitcoin spot ETFs already attracted over $300,000 in 300,000 Bitcoins was over $17 billion. My first question is how, and as well, Bitcoin spot ETF became the second most traded commodity ETF in the US. My first question is, in your opinion, how do these ETFs impact the perception and adoption of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? Let's start with Kavita.
Thank you, Anna. Of course, I mean, institutional adoption of any currency, especially Bitcoin, and it's very funny. I was thinking about it. 7 years back, everybody was telling us we're going to go to jail if you have Bitcoin and Ether. And now all those people are like trying and book ETFs. So we have come a long way in a very short span of time from being completely illegal to very legalized people on the main stage. I think it's a huge, huge thing because you already have multi-billion-dollar locked for Bitcoin ETFs. And apart from Bitcoin ETFs and the Bitcoin halving, which is about to happen in April and May, I feel like the idea that Bitcoin is a very legal source of not just the storage value, but has a technology behind it, has been really rallying it up. So I'm very excited about that.
Dominic?
So,
Robby,
yeah, I was going to say, I think the key actually, and I think of this, obviously we're a game company, so I think of a lot of things about creating user acquisition funnels and thinking about distribution. And so for Bitcoin, having these ETFs approved is essentially a huge vector for distribution because now you have some of the biggest money managers in the world who are giving access to their client bases to invest in something which for them has maybe been a technical challenge. Maybe people are not comfortable with self-custody of this asset, even though for us here, maybe we're a little bit more technically savvy and don't mind holding a Bitcoin in our own wallet. For a lot of traditional investors, especially institutional investors, they want professional custody. So I think that this really opens up the market to a whole new class of investors who might have been interested in it, but didn't really have access and wanted an easy way to have access with an institution they trust.
Thank you, Dominic.
Well, ETF approval obviously is fantastic news for Bitcoin. It allows people to invest in Bitcoin much more easily. And what's interesting about that is, whereas, if you invest in Apple stock, that's not the same as using an iPhone or a MacBook. And it doesn't make those products more valuable. Bitcoin functions as digital gold. And as people buy into Bitcoin via ETFs, it adds liquidity and makes it function better as a store of value and medium of exchange. And even eventually, as its price stabilizes over the long run, as a unit of account. So Bitcoin's unique in that respect. Even though people buying Bitcoin via an ETF aren't directly using Bitcoin, they're adding value to it. They are indirectly a kind of user. And so I think ETFs are huge.
Yeah, I agree with that. And besides the speculative role of Bitcoin and its being as investment class, it's as well considered to be a digital gold hedge against inflation. And another function of Bitcoin, it's as well has been touted for a long time as a tool for financial inclusion. And we have over 1.7 billion people worldwide who are unbanked and they don't have access to any financial services. So in your opinion, how can Bitcoin and give access to these people to the financial services.
The whole idea of Bitcoin started as a financial inclusivity, right? I got introduced to Bitcoin back in 2013 when I was still working with IFC, and I was based out of Cairo, and I've already done a year and a half in Kenya office, and I saw that the settlement between the official World Bank Kenya office to official World Bank Tanzania office would take 10 business days. And that was like very frustrating because you can literally drive and give that money within a day to the other office. And so the immediate settlement with verification and security has always been a problem in the standard financial system. And I think not just having the money with financial inclusivity or banking the unbanked with people who don't have to go through the whole system. Of course, we can have KYC now based on your new bank or just with your phone number accounts and create the whole credit system and credit lending system on top of it. But Bitcoin gives you that flexibility that if you are living in a country which does not have a stable political system, which is most of the world in Africa, Latin America, a lot of Asian countries, you do have a different currency than the currency promised by your government, not only to transact, but also to store as you move to a new country and start your life. I mean, you have so many Bitcoin ATMs on the border of Colombia and Venezuela, just so that when people move, they can literally convert their Bitcoin into peso and start a new life. So it's one of the biggest instruments which is beyond a political influence so far for a common people.
Yeah, we probably can as well count the level of Bitcoin adoption by the quantity of these Bitcoin ATMs.
Yeah, and actually, and just not by the governments, UNHCR has Bitcoin conversion ATMs in a lot of refugee centers in Greece and Turkey now for the same reason, because they are finding a lot of people coming from Lebanon and Syria having those Bitcoins, which they can start their new life and support. So, yeah.
Dominic, what's your take on that?
I think Bitcoin's going to be very popular in the developing world. Historically, there have been some impediments, mainly relating to speed and transaction cost, and those are going to disappear. So actually, today in the developing world, the most popular cryptocurrency is Tether, and it's being exchanged on Tron, which is a surprise. That's the truth, and the reason is that it can be transferred at very low cost very quickly. So Bitcoin hasn't had that, and there's been the Lightning project, which will bring down transaction speeds and cost. That has some challenges, though. You've got to lock Bitcoin in a channel. The Internet Computer has adopted a new technology called chain key, and recently that was used to create something called chain key Bitcoin, which is a Bitcoin twin. So using the Internet Computer as an alternative layer 2 to accelerate Bitcoin and make it less expensive. And now you can transfer Bitcoin with about 1.5 second finality and near negligible cost, like thousandths of a cent. And we already have that actually working in Lugano. So in Lugano, which is a very wealthy city in Switzerland, you can actually pay with chain key Bitcoin alongside, fiat. But with what we saw just before Christmas was this huge surge in chain key Bitcoin transactions, actually in China, but we're expecting to see a surge in South America and Africa. And it's really game-changing when you can transfer Bitcoin so quickly and at for such little cost. Another thing I think that will make a big difference is something called brain wallets. So one of the challenges with the developing world is that, you might be put up against a wall and coerced, and somebody might say, let me see on your phone. Even a corrupt policeman actually can do the same kind of thing. Let me see on your phone, and if you've got crypto, they're going to take it. So, excuse me, brain wallets allow you to remember a number in your head and interact with the sort of wallet as a service created by a smart contract. using a private key that's in a chip inside your phone called a TPM that nobody can detect and you can't it can't be extracted. And this means that people can use the incognito mode of their browser to send and receive Bitcoin and other kinds of crypto. And that'll be another big boon, I think, for people in the developing world. So they'll be able to hold crypto in a way that can't be detected, can't be stolen by somebody coercing them, and transfer it at very quickly at a very low cost. So I think adoption in the developing world is coming, and it'll certainly help people that don't have easy access to things like bank accounts.
Yeah, Robby, what about you?
So I think the way we view Bitcoin, so obviously we're a big game developer and entertainment company in the Web3 space. So we actually spent most of our time in the EVM or Ethereum compatible ecosystem of applications, more than we actually do specifically working with Bitcoin. But Bitcoin serves as a very important kind of North Star within our industry, because for many people, the reason they get into Web3 to begin with is to buy Bitcoin. It's very often the first thing that you do. And then you discover a wider world of Web3 applications and other cryptocurrencies and games and other things because you got into the experience via the Bitcoin road or doorway, so to speak. So I think we kind of view Bitcoin as being that macroeconomic indicator for the rest of our industry. When Bitcoin is doing well, it serves as a tailwind similar to interest rates or employment figures or other GDP numbers, anything that you would think of economically as being kind of an economic tailwind. And so we've seen the growth in Bitcoin pricing over the last 4 or 5 months really serve as a tailwind for the rest of the Web3 industry. So now if you look at most Web3 projects, the fundraising market has opened up again for Web3, which is great. Projects and consumer adoption and interest in projects has increased dramatically. So we're now feeling a lot like the atmosphere of 2021 and 2022 when it comes to momentum in the space. And a lot of that is due with what was triggered originally by the Bitcoin ETF approvals and the momentum in Bitcoin. So it's very important as an underlying kind of underlying tailwind underpinning the Web3 industry generally.
Yes, all assets follow the king, follow Bitcoin, and the mood on the market as well becomes better when Bitcoin is going up. And as well, we are in completely different cycle now. We see already even countries adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender, as official currency, like El Salvador or Central African Republic, where you can just go everywhere and pay in Bitcoin. And these are developing countries. So as well, in many other countries where there is hyperinflation, like in Uruguay or Argentina, people are referring to Bitcoin just as a hedge against inflation to store their assets, or many other remittance-dependent countries found Bitcoin to be like a solution to send money back to their families and to save the fees. But as well, we see, besides Bitcoin, we have another asset, such as NFTs, and we see the interest is coming back, and now everybody is as well telling that blockchain gaming may be the next catalyst for the mass crypto adoption. So my next question is back to Robby, since you are the CEO of the biggest blockchain gaming and metaverse fund, Animoca brands. So how do you see NFTs and blockchain games impacting the overall mass adoption of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? And is it like a gateway to the broader crypto expansion?
Sure. So I think, to put it briefly, the gaming market is definitely, very strong, and we're excited because we have a tremendous amount of Web3 based gaming product that has now come to market over the last year and is coming over this next year, which I think are much more mature titles of gameplay styles that people would be more familiar with from Web 2 games. I think many of the early Web 3 games had a lot of robust blockchain infrastructure, but maybe the gameplay was not as immersive as people would have liked. So I think the nature of product, we're undergoing a kind of a generational shift now. So I think you'll really enjoy some of the great titles that we have coming out shortly. But most importantly, we're also thinking about expanding the ways we work with these various technologies. So now, even on Bitcoin, we have the ordinals community. And the ordinals community began with static artworks, and now we have one studio that's just concentrated on making game content on Bitcoin because we're constantly trying to find new ways in which to use these technologies in creative fashions.
I actually want to add very quickly to what Robby is saying. I know we started with this is the Bitcoin price and this is a storage value, this is the inclusivity and the payment stuff. But I want to say that the reason for, and I'm going to take a liberty to speak on behalf of everybody on the stage when I say that this is just not some sort of, like a lot of people say, a scheme, a pyramid scheme or something. Bitcoin has an underlying value with a lot of technology. So does the companies which are associated, whether it's Ethereum, whether it's Definity. The technical underlying part of whether you can use it as a currency for immediate settlement, whether you use, as Robby mentioned, about a lot of technology which is getting built on it, ordinal stacks to have NFTs transactions on top of it, DeFi transactions which already have a liquidity of over $800 million locked within 1.5 months of its launch. That technology play of data, the technology play of having yields like any traditional hedge fund and more, is what gives and empowers it to be a very rare commodity in this space without the influence of an individual country.
And Dominic, do you have anything to add? I saw you have as well partnerships with some gaming companies.
Well, I'm just sort of riffing off Robby's comments on games. I think the future of crypto and Bitcoin specifically in games is bright. I think the difference, the change that we're going to see is today, games tend to, be built on a centralized platform and bounce people out, and you do a transaction, crypto for an NFT. And I think what we'll see is games adopting a full stack decentralization, a model of full stack decentralization, so the game runs on chain, and this will transform the way cryptos appear in games. So, for example, while you're interacting with the game, a balance of Bitcoin that you somehow will receive goes up and down depending on your actions, and there won't be any interaction with a wallet because it won't be necessary. So crypto will become integrated into game logic in much the same way that you saw, and in much the same way you saw the score move when you played Space Invader many years ago.
Yes.
If you're that old, you're going to see a balance of different cryptos going up and down as you play the game because they're going to be fully integrated. And that's programmable magic internet money at work.
Thank you. I think we are running out of time, but I think we are still quite early. There are only around 300 million crypto users worldwide, and this number is predicted to grow 2-3 times more by the end of this year. And even by the end of our panel, Bitcoin pumped $500 more. It's already $58,983, so it may even break 59,000. Yeah,
Great.
okay, give a round of applause to our speakers.
Thank you very much.